Good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted to have Dr. Jack Miller presenting this time. So welcome to the session. And just so you know, this session is being recorded. So we'll get started.
Thank you, Young Hee. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the Taoist concept of wu-wei and the Western concept of grace, and how they can relate to teaching, and then we'll do a couple of meditations based on what's called effortless mindfulness. So that's the plan. And then we'll have a little time for Q&A. So talking about wu-wei, I've relied on this book by Edward Slingerland. It's called Trying Not to Try: The Art and Science of Spontaneity. And he writes, the goal of education should not be to teach people logic and self-control, but rather to guide them in nurturing a set of positive innate tendencies into full wu-wei dispositions. So what is wu-wei? It refers to the dynamic and effortless, unself-conscious state of mind of a person who is optimally active and effective. People in wu-wei feel as if they're doing nothing, while at the same time, they might be creating a brilliant work of art, a smoothly negotiating complex social situation, including a classroom, or even bringing the entire world into harmonious order. For a person in wu-wei, proper and effective conduct follows as automatically as the body gives into a seductive rhythm of song. This state of harmony, both complex and holistic, involves as it does the integration of the body, the emotions, and the mind. So it's a holistic state of being where we just are, in a sense, we're in the flow. If you know Csikszentmihalyi's Mahai's work, he makes the comparison, but there is a difference between wu-wei and the flow experience, in that that he argues it's actually more holistic. So he goes on and he says, wu-wei is relaxing and enjoyable in a deeply rewarding way. People who have this quality exhibit what the Taoists call dai. Dai means virtue or power that arises through being in harmony with the way. Slingerland asserts that if you have dai, people like you, trust you, and are relaxed around you. So I would argue that if you can experience wu-wei and exhibit dai, that will make you a much more effective teacher. That you want people to trust you and be relaxed around you. So this dai is, I think we could say dai is kind of a sense of enhanced presence or empowerment, if you will. So going on, Sarah Kaufman, she's written a book on grace, on moving well through life. And when I read this book, it was clear that there's some similarity between the idea of grace and wu-wei. So she argues, she describes grace in a manner similar to wu-wei, as grace involves the mind, the disciplined body, and most especially the understanding heart. She also said that grace is the unexpected glimmering that things happen so subtle that no one else might notice, but the impact is real and deep. So then there is the similarity, that it's this idea that it's not something that is so evident, but it's just, again, in the way of things, if you will. And her description of the manner has a Confucian tone, as grace should foster harmonious interactions and create a climate of warmth and appreciation. She cites Elizabeth Woodward, who wrote about grace, which is how you carry yourself every day, which begins with a still mind. And she said, good posture is comfortable, balanced, and fluid. And then one of my students in their journal, I really caught this thing of what Kaufman and Woodward are talking about when she talked about how she went from her administrative job in the school to the classroom. And I want to read it to you. For teachers, there's are important behaviors to be mindfully considered: body language, eye contact, and compassionate speech. As I walk down the hall from my office where I have been handling administrative duties to my classroom, where I want to shift my focus to my students, I try to pay attention to my walk, my posture, my speed, and my gait. I relax the muscles in my face and put on a smile. Sometimes that smile comes more naturally than at other times, but the result is always the same. My mood shifts and I become less defensive and more receptive. I start each class with an erect posture, looking forward and ready to meet the students. I think my body language has a strong positive impact to start each class. Eye contact is an extension of the body language and a very real and immediate way to focus on the students. I try to make eye contact with every student and I walk through the class. They are usually engaged in a variety of activities and conversations, but my eye contact and my close physical proximity to each student allow them to refocus on our class and we connect with each other. So again, she brought this, again, if you will, her presence, her eye contact. And again, it's a good example of what Sarah Kaufman was talking about. So Locke Kelly and Diana Winston have written about mindfulness in a different way than normally, particularly the Kabat-Zinn conception has been developed. So he's written a book called Effortless Mindfulness, and he makes the contrast between Kabat-Zinn's definition, which is mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And Locke Kelly's definition, effortless mindfulness is letting go of thoughts, present moments, and attention opening to naturally compassionate, non-conceptual, awake awareness that is interconnected here and now. So there's if you will, again, in effortless mindfulness, there's less trying. It's a more relaxing into mindfulness, if you will. So it's characterized by the following. The mind is wide open without an agenda. The thoughts are less prominent. Everything seems to be flowing freely and easily and happening naturally without effort. There's a sense of joy and well-being, not connected to what is happening. And finally, there's an awareness from a boundless, interconnected, loving presence, rather than from an attached point of view. And then Diana Winston writes about natural awareness, which is very similar to Locke Kelly's view of effortless mindfulness. So she characterizes natural awareness in the following way. Your mind is like a wide open space. You feel a sense of contentment and not connected to external conditions. Everything seems to be happening on its own. You're simply being without an agenda. And this beingness creates a feeling of timeless and ease. So, yeah, this is the Locke Kelly book, The Way of Effortless Mindfulness. And this is the Diana Winston book. It's called The Little Book of Being, about natural awareness. And so, again, Sarah Kaufman talks about, well, what can we do in our life to to exhibit grace. So these are some of the things that she recommends. So slow down. There's no way to be graceful when you're rushing around haphazardly. Practice tolerance and compassion. Take time to listen and understand. Make room for others on the sidewalk, at the bus stop, in a coffee shop, or during a business meeting and in your life. Strive to make things easy for people, even in small ways. Make things easy for yourself. Be easily pleased. Lighten your load. Shed painful shoes. Disencumber yourself of heavy purses, backpacks, and briefcases. Let the bad stuff go, physically and emotionally. Take care of your body. The more you move, the better you'll move. And the better you'll feel. Be generous. It's a lovely thing to anticipate and fulfill someone's hopes. So there's a bit of an irony in these lists because wu-wei and Taoism generally they're very much against like formulas. So we just take this as just sort of a very general guide. And again, they're trying to achieve wu-wei and grace. Again, we go back to Slinger, the title of his book, Trying Not to Try. If we try too hard, we'll lose it. And again, this is a very difficult concept for us in the West to understand, because we're a culture of doing. And this idea of effortless action, or even not doing, which is that's another like translation of wu-wei, of not doing. So it's we have to be very careful that how we approach developing grace and wu-wei, and not get too rigid or instrumental in developing a formula to achieve it. So that's why we're going to do some meditations now that allow us to experience, particularly I'm going to use more Diana Winston than Locke Kelly, to experience what she calls natural awareness. And for me, this natural awareness is it's the place that all of us have of a natural awakeness that lies below our thoughts. And in our life, we are just so consumed with thoughts and activity that we lose this natural awareness. And even if we, again, even some forms of meditation can be too focused on method, and that we lose that natural awareness again. So we're going to do 2 or 3 of these meditations to give you a sense of what I'm trying to talk about, and hopefully we can just touch some natural awareness, okay? But before we do, any questions from anybody?
You can also use the chat box if you want to leave a question.
Okay, why don't we do the meditations, and then again we'll have time for question and answer, both about what I've talked about and about the meditations. Okay, so get yourself relaxed. The eyes, suggest the eyes be closed, and again in a posture that you're comfortable with. Okay. Close your eyes and spend a few minutes practicing awareness of your breathing to stabilize and calm your mind. So we'll just take a couple of minutes just to focus on our breathing. Now open your eyes and notice the visual field in front of you. See if you can notice it panoramically, that is, taking in the full field. Then notice that there are visual objects in front of you. But can you become aware of the space around the objects rather than the objects themselves? Imagine that your mind is like the sky and your thoughts are just like clouds passing by. If this makes sense, can you make the leap into noticing the space, not just in front of you, but also in your mind? The sky-like nature of your mind in which everything is contained. Now let's shift to a new exploration. Look out at your experience. Start visually. Notice the visual field in front of you. You are aware of sights. Now direct your attention to that which is seen. What do you find? Some part of you is knowing your thoughts. Who is the knower? As you continue your meditation, awareness is present. Can you find that part of you that is aware? Don't try to figure this out conceptually. Instead, what do you experience? Ask the question, who is aware? And see what your inner response is. So our last exploration, what if you were simply to be here? No agenda, nothing to do, nowhere to go, just be. Everything happens on its own. What would be here if we didn't have a problem to solve, if nothing was wrong? But just be in this place of being, of awareness. So of these three explorations, maybe one of them makes sense to you. The others don't land. If so, please continue on with the one that makes sense. Continue practicing for a few more minutes. letting your attention rest in whatever state you've evoked through these practices. Okay, let's come back to the room. So anyone want to share what they were experiencing? Did you feel you contacted your natural awareness through any of these?
Jack, if you want to see the audience better, we could stop sharing a little bit.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right.
Jack, I try very hard not to think of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was hard, like going against perhaps my maybe focus, but also it's like undoing the habits that has been there for a long time.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's, again, we're so consumed with thoughts and our life is so busy that just to do this for a few minutes here, we're not, but I think naturally we can have moments of what, Diana calls natural awareness. And we might just for a moment think about in your life, for instance, being in nature can often bring a state of natural awareness. Uh, uh, so if anybody has things that they do in their life that bring that state of natural awareness, that could also be shared here as well, besides what we were talking about. Yeah. I'm sure all of you have had an experience of natural awareness. Yeah. Kevin? Yeah. Did you have something to say?
Yeah. I thought maybe after we all did it, we were in such natural awareness that we didn't have an agenda to want to share.
Yeah, right. Yeah. 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 Well, that's good. Then you had some experience of it then. Yeah. And I'm sure, as I said, we do experience it in our life, and it's just how we can support it, how these exercises can help us and just become to let it happen more easily, right? Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that you had us go through the different meditations, and I felt a progression from initially finding the space,
Yes.
bringing my awareness to find it and be present with it. And as we got to the last one, where there was no agenda, I felt myself becoming the space.
Oh,
and
great. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not sure I would have gotten there if I started with the third meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. She's developed her progression there, right?
Yes.
And yeah. So good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt very, I felt joy when when you invited us to have no agenda, because I
Yeah.
just felt like that's where I wanted to be, but didn't know how to be there. And it was a very inviting invitation to me. And I just felt a deep sense of joy that that's where
Yeah.
I wanted to be and where I am. So thank you.
Yeah, the natural, if we can be in this state of natural awareness, the joy naturally will arise. It just comes. And that's, again, it's such a wonderful thing, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this meditation experience has got me realizing that I think I carry this state of mind around with me, this state of natural awareness around with me in some part of my mind, and different experiences allow it to come forward or allow me to fall into it.
Yeah.
And meditation is one of them. Sometimes interacting with a class of students is
Yeah.
another one. When there's a kind of a flow. We had a fifth period, my fifth period English class on Thursday, which is an absolutely very, very quiet, unreactive bunch. We had a real fire in the room, and people who were I mean that in a good way. Shouldn't joke about fires today, but people who are normally want to have their heads on their desks were coming up with pivotal insights, and it was a very fun experience. And I felt in the flow then. Same thing happens in music when I'm composing on the guitar. But I think it's that part of me that can, natural awareness, that is able to be accessed in different situations.
Yeah, those are really good examples. And I'm really glad you shared the one from the classroom, because that's what I was trying to say that can happen in our teaching. And again, the more that we are in a state of natural awareness, then it'll happen with the students, right? And it can just, but again, it's just more of a happening than something that we can plan, you know.
Yeah.
Like, so you had this, and again, music is a very good way that brings us into natural awareness, because music is non-conceptual, right? It's not words. And again, it's such a natural way to bring it. Yeah. So any people, others have, I have a couple of more of these to do, but any more examples that you want to share from your own life, your own experience? Okay, well, let's try another one. This one is called The Space Between Things, okay? So I talk often about shifting attention from objects to the awareness in which all objects are contained. We get this experience of concept by playing with the space between things. So I guess, okay, so we just relax now. While meditating with open eyes, shift into mindful seeing, softly gazing at what is in front of you and having an awareness of the periphery. Once you feel stably aware of the visual field for fun, see if you can notice the space between objects rather than the objects themselves. Don't focus on what your eyes are naturally drawn to, but instead on the space surrounding those things. Soften, relax, and connect with the space. What happens as you do this? Trust what emerges, letting whatever unfolds unfold. Relax and marinate in your discoveries. In daily life, you might try this practice outside under a night sky. Can you notice the space between the billions of stars? Sit for a moment with this experience. Okay, thank you. So it's interesting if you look at Chinese and Japanese art, it usually you'll see objects with a lot of space, whereas in Western art, there's a tend to fill up the whole canvas. But in Asian art, you will often see like they use a lot of like nature, and there's the figure, the person, they might, if there are people in it, they're very small in relation to all that space. So again, rest, and again, that being in that place of space helps us reach that place of natural awareness. Yeah. So John, did you have anything more, or that was that anything more to say? You have your hand is up, but that may have been.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
That's okay. Thank you. Yeah. Any comments about that experience?
Actually, yeah, I found that I was busy most of the time you were talking, just writing down notes, because I meditate with students in the classroom, and I'm wanting to try this. But when I did take a few minutes and try it, I kind of found myself aware of that. I kind of locate this space in my mind toward the back of my mind someplace. And I found myself feeling as if this attempt to see the spaces between things was somehow placing me into that part in the back of my mind that I guess you could call something to do with natural awareness.
Okay. Yeah.
I look back on my life and meditating and praying and having spiritual experiences. There is some kind of room in the back of my mind that dates way back.
Yeah.
Used to have some more details that I noted about it.
Good. Yeah. So there's actually sort of a place in your head that sort of is the kind of where the natural awareness comes from, eh? Or that's what you experience?
When I was a child, I grew up in a home with no interest in spiritual things, but I had this part of my mind that was somehow activated, and I remember there being I remember there being some kind of orange light back in that part of my mind, and there were strips that hung between that back part of my mind and the rest of my mind, and the orange light filtered through there. Wow. I hope this wasn't back in the days when I was experimenting with substances as a teenager. I hope it was before that.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. That's great. Yeah.
Dr. Miller, oh, sorry, did I interrupt, Yamhi?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just want to mention that I love the statement when you mentioned notice the space between the million of stars during the night sky. So yeah, I don't know why. It just like, because right now it's like 4:36 a.m. in Malaysia. So to be very honest, I was very, very sleepy at the beginning. So when you mentioned that, I don't know, I just suddenly noticed like there is this space within myself, in my heart. I can't, I'm sorry, because I find it very difficult to describe that. Uh, so yeah, it just like, it seems that the space has been enlarged. So within the heart. So yeah, I have to thank you for leading this practice. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, yeah.
Lee, you sound like you're stayed up whole night then for this conference.
I tried to, but I quickly went to have a nap. So during the 1 hour break. So yeah, it was very useful. Thanks.
Yeah. What part of Malaysia are you? Where are you in Malaysia?
I'm now back to my hometown in Johor. So
Oh.
back then I was in Selangor. Yeah. So but due to the MCO and everything, so I came back here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been twice to Taylor's University in Malaysia. They had holistic conferences there that were just so much fun to go to, right? And
yes, I was there. So that's why I got to know some.
Yeah, really good memories of being there. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So I have one more. So let's do this. This is called the mirror analogy. We're just relaxing. Imagine your mind is like a mirror, crystal clear, reflecting only what comes in front of it. No opinion, no clinging, no aversion. Just pure reflection of reality exactly as it is. Rest your mind like a mirror that purely reflects what is right here in front of you. So just sit with that for a few minutes. Okay, thank you. So I think like having the mind like that mirror, that clarity is a wonderful way to listen to others. If our mind is in that really clear, open space, we are in a great place to listen to our students. And that clarity is just so important. And the mirror is an image that can help us reach that. So yeah, yeah. Anything you want to? Did you have a pretty? Did you feel that your mind was like a mirror? How did you experience it, or were there problems? William, what did you experience?
Thank you for asking, Jack. I had a few problems too, but you know, because that's a tricky one to let go of everything
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like,
In a way,
but
it's impossible. In a way, we always have thoughts going on,
yeah.
but the mirror sort of image can help us reduce the thoughts. Yeah.
Well, I loved it, but the image that came to me for a fleeting moment was what it would be like to be a creature on the earth with the shortest possible lifespan.
Wow.
And then when you brought it back home again to the classroom, that made me think about those moments in the class where you know, you experience that same kind of presence. You know, that this is all there is right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
Tom Peterson, what's going on in Georgia? Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Just
Wow.
enjoying the beauty out here as you're reflecting on these different things. And the mirror, of course, the classroom, it brings up that, and it was a challenge for me to try to understand what it looks like looking through a mirror. But when you mentioned the classroom, it did bring it home, and it's those moments of intimacy where you're in this dance with your students, and it's just a wonderful feeling. There's so much clarity to it at those moments. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, just sitting on the porch there, looking out on the lake there is a really good way to achieve natural awareness. It's harder in Toronto, I'll tell you. Yeah.
I'll just jump in for a sec, and just the mirror was a fun one for me, but it was interesting how easily I shifted it from my own mind to the minds of my students. And I instantly went to that, oh, they're mirroring everything I'm doing, everything I'm feeling, whether I'm expressing it or not. They're little mirrors, and they're just going to give it right back to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a good
Yeah.
meditation in that way of that mindfulness piece, because, you know, our focus goes in and out through the day and through our lives. And the more we can bring ourselves back to it and be intentional with it, the better, you know, the easier it will be for us to be who we want to be.
Yeah. There's actually, they've done research on the brain that there's mirror neurons that's how we experience empathy. That our mind immediately can reflect what other people are experiencing. Yeah. So I think it would happen even more readily with natural awareness. We'd be more open to other people's feelings. Yeah.
I think I felt throughout all of those different practices, space emerge, and you're asking us to focus on not something, but some expansive
That's right.
aspect of the universe. And in doing so, it felt like, it's like I got to let go, and like,
Yeah, right.
it's so easy to get fixated on this or that, but with that type of presence and type of awareness, it was easy to let go of so much, let go of my own focuses that I usually have, and just realize, oh, there's so much more happening than what I'm thinking about. There's just so much more than that. And that was just a relief to feel that.
Like Diana talks about three kinds of awareness. One is the more traditional meditative awareness, where we focus like on the breath, or we have an object, right? And then the second is what she calls flexible awareness, where we go from the object to this more open awareness. And then the third is what she calls the natural awareness. And I think we can use all three, but I think we're less familiar with this more open, spacious awareness. And we can use it to complement if we're doing a more structured kind of meditation, right? Yeah.
It's the mirror exercise and all the ones, are they all by Diana Winston?
They're all in this book, The Little Book of Being.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Is there an example you could give us, Jack, for the mirror awareness, just how that could play out even just in a 2-minute example, like a model of, I don't quite understand the mirror one in a sense, but maybe because I don't have that context of that book or whatever, but how does that work? Do I mirror back what someone else is saying, or do I mirror my own
you
thoughts
just
back?
try to imagine your mind as a mirror, just very clear, reflective to what's going on, okay? And not so much what is reflecting, but just your own mind is like a mirror, just very,
Wow.
okay? Does that make it?
Is it also mirroring my own thoughts then? That could be a little claustrophobic.
Well, like your own thoughts are going to come up, right? You're never, like, as William said, there's still going to be thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But we're still trying to achieve this, like, kind of a blanker slate. But again, realizing we can't achieve the total blank slate. It's just letting the thoughts kind of just disappear so the mirror can shine. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And that, again, that comes from Eastern thought, that our mind can be like this shining light, shining awareness, right?
Mhm.
And that shining awareness is natural to our being. Like, this is what I love about this concept of natural awareness. It's natural to who we are as human beings. It just exists there. But again, our lives are so dominated by activity and thoughts and worries and all that we lose that. But it's always there. It's always there for us to nurture and to experience. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to sort of meld this mirror analogy to a meditation that's developed in the classroom over the years that kind of relates to something Ingrid was just saying. So I have my students imagine we go on a guided imaginary walk through a pine forest, and
Okay.
they come out on the edge of a pond, and the wind that was going through the pine forest is coming out and moving across the pond and rippling the pond, small ripples.
Yeah.
And as they meditate, they imagine they give the wind a command, gentle command to stop blowing, and those ripples on the pond begin to flatten out.
Yeah.
And that pond surface then becomes like a mirror.
Yes.
Which then reflects the clouds and the 19 geese flying over the pond, or however many, whatever number we're using for that day, and they can see the bellies of the geese in the pond, in the mirror pond, and they can see the clouds. And then I say, imagine that pond is like your mind, flat, clear, reflective, and calm.
That's a really good image.
And
yeah.
The nice thing is you go from being ruffled to being calm with that image there, with the wind dying down. But I think what I can do then maybe is have another meditation when they begin imagining your mind is like a mirror. Their mind is like a mirror.
Yeah.
I'd like to try that.
Great. Okay. So again, thank you for coming, and hope you experience a lot of natural awareness in your life. Yeah.
Thank you. That was great.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Yeah. And enjoy the rest of the conference.